ironically enough, this movie was a Canada-Germany co-production, even though no scenes take place in Germany. But that meant we had to shoot primarily in Germany. But I felt that it was necessary, really, to at least find a few days to come to Vienna, so that I and my actors and my crew could connect with the reality of Vienna. And of course, the city has changed, but maybe it hasn't changed as much as some other cities changed, which is one of the charming things about Vienna, obviously. And so we did manage to shoot at several locations, including at Freud's actual apartment on Bergassa, not inside the apartment, which is a museum, and you can't really shoot there. That was a studio set. We shot it in Cologne. But shooting the entranceway and shooting the steps leading up to Freud's apartment, which he would have walked up and down many times, and for my actors to also walk up and down those steps was very thrilling for them, and gave them a real sense of connection with the actual characters that they were portraying. We shot in the Belvedere Gardens, which are unique, and you can't find anything that looks like that anywhere else, and at the Café Sperl and a few other places. So though we didn't shoot a lot here, it was significant. You know, it had a huge emotional significance for us. Places like the Café Sperl are incredible, you know, because the tobacco stains on the walls have been there for 100 years, and I think probably Freud's tobacco is on the wall there somewhere, because of course he smoked 22 cigars a day, and we depict that in the movie. We couldn't have even afforded to create a set that was as beautiful as that cafe. You know, the details that are still original there are fantastic. And as soon as you entered the cafe, you feel you're going into another era. And of course, if you're doing that with your actors who are dressed in period costume, and you fill the cafe with extras who are in period costume, fantastic. You know, it's quite thrilling. And as I say, we literally could not have recreated that anywhere else. Well, the idea really was not to look at it from a perspective of today at all, but to try to transport the audience and the characters right back to, you know, early 1900s, 1904 is when the movie starts. At the very beginning, when psychoanalysis was just the idea of it and the practice of it was being formed. So the characters, for example, I didn't want there to be some ironic distance and a perspective from now. No, the characters are meant to be discovering psychoanalysis right at the very moment, because after all, they were inventing a unique relationship that had never existed between human beings before. The psychoanalyst and his patient, very, very intimate relationship, but with a clinical distance, but then complicated by the idea of transference, where the patient starts to project onto the analyst his relationships with all kinds of people that he knows, and including his family. And even the boundaries of psychoanalysis were not, of that relationship, had not yet been established. For example, now, if an analyst has a sexual affair with a patient, this is a criminal event. You can go to jail for that. Whereas then, you have a character, Otto Gross, a real character, who was saying to Jung, well, why not have an affair with your patient? Why not have sex with your patient? What if that's a really good thing? What if that's a therapeutically positive thing? We don't know if it isn't. And they were struggling with these things. You know, it seemed like a bad thing, but then maybe it was a good thing. You know, so to me, that's what the fascination is, to see it before it was really established in terms of its structure. It's funny because I think people who really know my films deeply will completely see this as a Cronenberg film. It's only fans of my early horror films who you know, even movies like Eastern Promises, which was sort of a gangster film and not a horror film, might have had a problem with it. But fans of my work should be interested in this movie, you know. And as I've said many times, when I make a movie, I don't think about my other movies. It's as though I had not made them at all. They're completely irrelevant to me. This movie is its own unique entity, whatever movie it is I'm now working on. And I often say I listen to what the movie wants. It tells me what it needs. I give it what it needs. I don't impose on it some idea of Cronenbergness or either visually or thematically or anything else. And I feel that because it's something I'm interested in passionately, and to make a movie, especially these days, you have to be very passionate about it because it's not easy to get it made. If I have that passion, then it automatically is a Cronenberg film, no matter what it is. So, although there are some elements in this movie that are unusual, in the sense that it is probably the first movie I've done that's based very strictly on real people who existed historically. It still connects in many, many ways to my other movies. I mean, I can see that. When I step back and act like a critic, I can connect it. When I'm making the movie, though, I don't think that way. I don't think of my other movies at all. Yeah, I mean, there are many things you could say that are connecting. I mean, for example, one of the things that what made Freud's theories seem quite dangerous to people, and hence our title in English is A Dangerous Method, he was considered quite threatening, and it's because he insisted on the reality of the human body. Even though everybody was dressed in these high white collars and corsets and many layers of clothes, he was saying, no, but the human body, these things that we don't want to think about, these organs and excrement and incest and all of these things, really have an impact on my patients. I can see that although society is officially ignoring the body has a huge impact on what we become as adults. And you can see that insistence on the human body in all of my movies. So even from that simple point of view, you can connect this movie with my other movies. Well, I think I still do flirt with Hollywood. I mean, it was not so long ago that I tried to do a movie called The Matarese Circle that was based on a Robert Ludlum novel. It was going to star Tom Cruise and Denzel Washington, and I spent some time with both those actors, and it was at MGM. But MGM went belly up, it went bankrupt, so that ended that. It was no fault of my own. I don't know if it would be a good experience to do a big Hollywood movie or not. I've talked to directors who've said it's really a lot of fun, and I've talked to some directors who say it's absolute hell and they'll never do it again. So I don't know what my experience would be.